Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Tonight's webinar is called An Educator's Guide to the Hour of Code. We have over 1,000 people registered for the webinar tonight, and so far over 200 have dialed into the call. All of you who are joining us this evening have come in automatically into the BlueJeans platform on mute. So you can see me, you can see Laura and Alice, you can see our slides, but we cannot see and we cannot hear you. So by all means, please get comfortable, relax. We got about an hour to talk about computer science together. Should be a great evening. But just keep in mind that the only way we can communicate with you is through the chat pod, which is on the side of your screen. It looks somewhat like a little quotation bubble from a comic book. So if you have a question, a comment, feedback, or just want to say hello, use that chat pod to go ahead and do that throughout the meeting. Later on in the meeting, we are going to have a Q&A discussion. And at that time, we will use the chat pod, but we're also going to use the hand feature. So on the side of your screen, you should also see a little hand icon. If you click on that, that allows me as the moderator to activate your microphone and webcam for you so that you can interact with us and speak to us. And we'll do that about halfway through the meeting. But for now, let's just focus on using the chat pod. And I'll let you know when it's time to raise your hand if you have a question. Can we go to the next slide, Laura? Thank you. So this event, An Educator's Guide to Hour of Code, is the third in a series of monthly webinars we've been hosting this fall here at code.org. Previously, we had a Q&A with our founder, Hadi Partovi, and the last meeting that we had was a sharing out of our evaluation and program results. But for the next two meetings that we're going to be having, the one tonight and the one on December 2nd, we're going to be focusing on the Hour of Code. So we're really glad that you're here to join us, and hope that you've brought your questions and your comments and your best practices to share. So tonight's presenters are two of my favorite people at code.org, not just saying that because they're here tonight, but it's actually true. Laura Klein is the manager of the Hour of Code program. She's been working on Hour of Code since the very beginning, and has a lot of great insight to share with you. I think you guys will love hearing from Laura. And then Alice Steinglass is code.org's Vice President of Product and Marketing. And Alice has just been a really huge influence on Hour of Code this year, and I think that a lot of the stuff she has to share will also be super interesting to you. Go to the next slide. So basically, we're going to go through this evening a set of best practices that we've gathered from successful Hour of Code educators who we've interacted with through the past 2 or 3 years, and share with you what we've learned. What are these teachers doing that makes Hour of Code work in their classroom? After we share what we've learned, we're going to have about 20 or 30 minutes for you to ask us questions and to get the help and support you need to be successful. When we get to the question portion of the meeting, I'll explain to you how to ask questions. But during the whole beginning, as I mentioned, please do feel free to use that chat icon on your side, and we will address questions as we go. I heard a little echo.
No, you heard a siren outside our window. So
I heard a siren outside the window. The Hour of Code is on fire, people, and the fire department. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Laura and Alice, and I will go on mute and close my webcam also just to save bandwidth, ladies. If you need me, ping me. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's dive right in and get started. I'm Alice, and we're going to go through how to teach the Hour of Code and a lot of your questions about how to make it successful. At this point, we've had over 100 million, students. What's more than that? Well, that's out of date. We need to update our slides. There's more every day. We've had over 100 million students across the globe who have done the Hour of Code and been exposed to computer science. And right now, we have about almost 110,000 educators who have signed up to organize a Hour of Code with their classrooms this year. So we're really excited about the scope of this. It's really important because for a lot of these students, this is their first chance ever seeing computer science. They have no idea what it is, or it's an opportunity to do something that they don't normally get to do in their school. And so that's something that we really hope with the Hour of Code, it gives them a chance to see what it's about. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the 6 steps to teaching an Hour of Code. We're going to talk about how you can plan, how you can promote your Hour of Code within your school and outside your school, how to prepare for the Hour of Code. And when we do that, we're going to go through how to choose a tutorial, how to make sure it's the right tutorial for your class, what you need in terms of classroom supplies to make the Hour of Code successful. Then we're going to walk through what you should actually do on the day of the Hour of Code, starting by inspiring your students with a video and a quick, and we'll talk about how to do that. Then we'll show you what's going to happen when they're coding, and finally celebrating because you've done it. And hopefully we'll get through all of that in the next 20 to 30 minutes, and then leave lots of time for your questions afterward. So to kick it off, we've got Laura to tell us how to plan our Hour of Code.
Thank you, Alice. So the first thing to do is think about planning the Hour of Code is make sure you sign up your event on the hourofcode.com. So not only when signing up your event, you will be eligible to receive cool all organizer prizes, but you also will be added to a map so everyone can see and find you doing the Hour of Code. After you signed up your event, you want to start envisioning the experience you want your students to have start to finish. Are you doing this in the computer lab? Are you doing it in the cafeteria? Are they doing it in groups? Or are they doing it one-to-one? And that's the next way to start your Hour of Code. After you decide what you want to do, tell other teachers to get involved. So we have a ton of resources at hourofcode.com/resources where you can download posters and social media blurbs and stats that you can share, but also encourage other teachers at your school to do it. And you can also encourage your whole district to do it. So we've heard from so many teachers all over the country that they've been able to sign up their whole district to participate.
That's especially cool if you're a computer science teacher, say, and there are a lot of teachers at your school who aren't computer science teachers. They might be afraid to do it or afraid to try it. And so, helping other teachers at your school get started can be a great thing to do.
And if there's a computer science program at your school with computer science students, have them recruit other students to get involved and learn that week too. And they can be the experts there, getting everybody on board and comfortable.
Okay, so at this point, you've got your class or your school, everybody's signed up, you're ready to go, you're in the thing. How do you actually prepare for the Hour of Code, and what do you need to do to get ready? So let's walk through that. The first thing you need to do is pick a tutorial. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. And let me go right here, share screen, share. Okay. So hopefully Melissa's switching over to me so you can see this. Great. So let's go to Google Chrome. Okay, so let's look at, so here is the place to go. This is linked from Hour of Code. If you click try it, it's linked on the main page of code.org if you click try it, or you can just write down the URL here, code.org/learn. And if you look here, what you'll see is all of the tutorials that we've picked for this year. At the top are our 2 featured tutorials for the year, and these are ones that we just developed for this year. This is particularly useful if you did the Hour of Code last year, or if your students did the Hour of Code last year with another class. Neither of these tutorials have been done yet, so you'll know that all the students are seeing them for the first time. We have 2 tutorials here. One is a Minecraft tutorial, and the other is a Star Wars tutorial. And I'm going to go into those in more depth in a minute. But before I do that, a lot of you have been asking about kindergartners and young kids. Both of these tutorials are designed for kids ages, we say roughly 6+, but they should be able to read a little bit. I have tried it. We've tested it with kids who were sort of early readers and not strong readers yet, and they can kind of get through it on their own. If you have a question, you know your kid's best, so you can just try out the tutorial and see if you think it's the right age for them. But if you do have younger kids, if you have kindergartners, pre-readers, I'd recommend looking a little bit lower here. We have these other categories of tutorials. So under tutorials for beginners, if I click this right arrow, you'll see some other tutorials that are really designed for beginners. And for each of these, you can see what ages we recommend them for. So for example, this Tinker one is for ages 5 through 13, and you can also see what devices it's going to run on. So this one runs on modern web browsers. If you look at the tutorials that we've created, the Minecraft one, and the Star Wars one and some other ones we had last year, those will all run on any device you have, on a Mac, on a PC, on any browser, on Chrome, on Safari. They'll run on iPads, they'll run on iPhones, they'll run on Android devices, Windows devices, you name it. Some of these other tutorials, they do have specific things they're looking for. This is Scratch. It's a fantastic tutorial. It's for ages 8+. But because there's been a bunch of questions about pre-readers, I'm going to go to a couple of our pre-reader ones. What was our top recommended one for pre-readers? You have it?
The FOOS is a great one for pre-readers. It's under the apps and devices, or I'm sorry.
It's under tutorials.
It looks like we're frozen.
Apps.
Or your screen is frozen up there.
Okay, yeah, this one's great for pre-readers. Okay, so this was under tutorial apps for phones and tablets. It's called the FOOS, and it says pre-readers welcome. We've called it out in the heading because it's really great for pre-readers. So if you are one of the people who's been asking us about, I've got younger kids, pre-readers, this would be one that I would recommend trying.
And the great part about the FOOS is they've recently launched a web browser version of this, so we actually will be adding it up to the beginners category. So you'll actually don't need phones or tablets to do this one at all, and it's excellent.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So the other questions I had were, do I need to have experience coding? You don't need any experience coding. You can go into this without any experience, but I'm just going to show you what they look like. So I'll start with the Minecraft one and the Star Wars one. So let me go to my link here. So when you click on the Minecraft one, it opens up this page. At the top, you've got your Minecraft tutorial. And we've created short URLs for all of these. So if you just want to write them on the board for your kids to type in, code.org/MC will take you to the Minecraft tutorial. You can also, of course, bookmark that on the pages for them to make it even easier, especially if you have young kids. Below it, we've also linked these inspirational videos. And I'm going to talk more about that later, but that's a great way to kick off your classes with one of the inspirational videos. Then once you click Try Now, it will launch you right into the Minecraft tutorial. And at this point, it's self-driven. These are designed so that you don't need to be leading the whole class through it. The class can lead themselves through it. So as a student, I come in, I can pick whether I want to be Alex or Steve. I'm going to pick Alex because I think she is cool and has a ponytail. So let's select Alex. And it'll walk through each of the instructions. So add a second move forward command to reach the sheet. And here I can see, and then it'll tell me I need to hit run to try my program. I'm going to go ahead and add that move forward command here, right here. And the part I skipped here was also an instructional video that played. I don't want to play that over the BlueJeans because it doesn't work well over BlueJeans. But if you want to try out the tutorial yourself, you'll see that there's an instructional video where, in this case, Jens, who is the lead developer of Minecraft, will walk the students through exactly how to do this and show them what they're doing, so just to get them started. I click run, and I beat that level and move on to the next one. And it builds up very, very slowly, deliberately. So we introduce one concept at a time. That first level, all we're doing is introducing how to use the UI. And then as I go further, it'll introduce more concepts. Like now I'm learning that I can use this destroy block to chop down the tree. Later we'll teach loops and if statements and a few other concepts.
Alice, what's a UI?
Oh, user interface. So yes, we will.
For us less tech savvy out there.
Yes. And as you look at it, one of the other things we do is we try to, if the kids don't get it, there are these hints that will help them out. So here I did not get it. I can click see hint, and it'll show me that I might want to try using the destroy block. So that's something that you can just let your kids go through this. They will do it on their own. If they have any questions, we encourage them to do something called ask 3 then me, which is basically ask a friend, and that's great for a couple reasons. One, it really as you all know because you're teachers, but asking somebody else not only helps me, but also helps that student because they have to explain it to me. We also encourage pair programming, and that's really great. We found it also helps girls be more interested in computer science sometimes when they're working with other girls or working with other boys, either one. And so for pair programming, you put two people at a computer together, and that also gives them somebody else that they can work with. And if they get stuck, they can ask each other, they can ask the person next to them, and that's all a fantastic way to help them through these tutorials. The Minecraft tutorial, if you've done our tutorials before, is similar to the Angry Birds tutorial, the original Hour of Code tutorial we produced in terms of the kinds of concepts it teaches. So at first it's going to teach me how to take a concept like how do I get over to that tree and break it down into a series of steps. Or as we go further, I learn how to build a house. And I learn how, in this case, the level I just loaded is the level for chopping down trees. So I start to learn how would I, walk over to one tree, chop it down, turn left, walk over to another tree and chop it down. And how do I do all of those steps together, and how do I put those in sequence? And then we teach loops, and the students learn how to use a loop in a computer to be able to let the computer do many things over and over again. And they use that to do big things like build an entire house. And then they learn about if statements at the end. It's not important that your students finish the tutorial. And I usually tell them that up front because sometimes they feel like, oh, I really have to get to the end. They don't. It's totally fine if your students go at different paces. So some students can zip through to the end, and if they do, there's a free play level at the end, and they can just keep free playing for as long as they want, or I'm going to skip the video right now. This is the free play level. It's an extra big level where it's like 9 times the size, and they can go everywhere and build stuff. Or they can go on, if you want to let them do a different tutorial, they can start another tutorial afterwards. And for students who don't finish, that's also completely fine. So, having students who get to level 7 or level 6, that's great. And at any point when you're done with your hour, they can just go ahead and click straight to I'm finished with my hour of code. And you can do that whether or not you get to the end. And they can still get their certificate. And we'll talk a little bit more about certificates in a minute. So I also want to show you the Star Wars tutorial. So we have a new tutorial this year for Star Wars, and there are actually 2 versions of this tutorial. We have a blocks version and a JavaScript version. The difficulty of them is almost the same. The big difference is you type in the JavaScript version. So if you have a group of kids who can't type yet, you should definitely do the blocks version. If you have a group of kids who can type and are a little older and maybe feel cooler if they're typing, like it's real code and it's exciting to type, the JavaScript one is great because it gives them the flexibility to use blocks if they're not super comfortable with typing, or if you have a mixed class where some want to use blocks and some want to type. But it also gives them the flexibility to turn into, to switch over to the typing mode. So here are this is what the block version looks like. Again, so, here I am on BB8, and the beginning is very similar. I'm, moving down and around. I'm gathering these things using these blocks that are the block version. And then this is the JavaScript version. And again, it uses blocks that I can drag, but instead of being simple English where it says, move space right, it's actually the real JavaScript command. So move right, one word, with the parentheses and the semicolon at the end. And at any point, the students can switch into text mode and type something like move left typing so it feels, a little bit more like real JavaScript here. In this tutorial, we teach a different set of concepts than in the Minecraft tutorial. Instead of teaching loops and if statements, we focus on events. And you can play through it. It's fun. They make their own game at the end. And we've had, my son made a game where there were all these, stormtroopers coming after him. And then you tried to get these like flying winged things called Minox. And the more you got, the more appeared. And it's super fun. And they can create that. Because these tutorials teach different concepts, it's also completely fine if a student finishes early to have them do both tutorials. Like they're designed to be complements of each other.
Or they can help other students.
Or they can help other students, which is also great. So I think that was the whole demo we're going to do right now. You can definitely try these out on your own. I just wanted to do a quick demo here. So let's go back to our slides. Okay, I need to exit here, screen sharing. Stop screen sharing. Here it is. And bring it back to the slides. We're doing it. Okay. So once you've picked your tutorial and you've said, just try it out, see if it seems age appropriate for your kids. The next thing to do is try it out on your device. It should just work, but you just want to make sure that, if you have iPads in your room, if you have Android tablets in your room, you want to make sure that the tutorial you've picked is compatible with the device you've picked, and they should all be listed up front. But for example, if you looked at the JavaScript tutorial I just showed you, because it involves some typing, it wouldn't work on a tablet. You would want to use the blocks version if you were on a tablet.
It's good to test it out in advance.
Yeah, it's good to try it out before you have a whole classroom of 30 students trying it out. Better to try it out when it's just you. If you don't have enough devices, you can use pair programming, although I prefer using it even if you do have enough devices. I think, it's just a lot more fun, but definitely if you don't have enough devices, you should do it. And if you have low bandwidth, you might want to download all of the videos up front, and we've got some instructions for how to do that. Another thing that you can do in advance is print out the the certificates for your class. You can also, give it to them after the class, but if you go to, there's a link in the how-to guide where it shows you a link to print out all the certificates. And what I've done in the past is just enter all of the students' names up front. There's a sort of copy and paste all your student names in. It'll generate all the certificates for everyone in your class to say they've done an hour of code. You can print them all out in advance, and then when the class is over, you can hand them all their certificates. And the kids really love taking them home, and then also their parents can see that sort of an achievement that they did that hour of code. I've also seen teachers hang them up in the classroom as another way to, celebrate it. Yeah. So now we're ready to actually do the hour of code. And the first thing you want to do when you kick off the hour of code is just tell the students what they're doing that day. And this doesn't take very long. Most of it's just putting them in front of the computer and letting them do the hour of code. But what I like to do is, just 5 minutes at the beginning. If younger kids, gather them on the rug. If they're older kids, leave them in their, in their seats. And tell them a little bit about what computer science is and play a video to inspire them. So kids often have this misperception that computer science is, something that like a boring old guy does in the basement. Yeah, totally. You got it. And they don't see it as something that they can do, especially if they're a girl or if they're, African American or Hispanic. It just doesn't feel like something they would do, or it doesn't feel like it applies to their life. And today it's something where, if you make a movie like Anna and Elsa, right, you use computer science to make the movie. We use computer science in space, in medicine, in agriculture, in basically every field you go into. There are ways to connect it to computer science, and helping them see that is part of the reason we do the hour of code, so that they see why our, coding is interesting. And so we've created a bunch of videos. If you don't know how to, you don't know much about computer science yourself, it can be hard to explain all of this. So we've created a bunch of videos to make it easy. These are all on code.org/educate/inspire, and you can just pick any one of these. The first one on the list, if your students have done this before, is brand new for this year. So if you want one that's brand new they haven't seen before, in particular is about women and girls, getting women into computer science. So, to inspire the girls in your class to see that something that girls can do. And then there's the rest of these are things that are for everybody. And the last one there that we have there is Barack Obama encouraging the kids to do computer science, which can be fun. So you play the video, and then you can see something inspiring, or if you don't know much about computer science and you want someone to come to your class and help inspire the class, we have thousands of volunteers who work at tech companies or computer science university students, and they are happy to come to your class and help out with the hour of code. They're all listed here. We have this page. It's linked on the how-to page on the code.org. If you want to reach out to one of these people, it's up to you to do the screening that your school requires. We have not vetted any of these people. They have just signed up volunteering and saying that they have links to their Facebook profiles or their LinkedIn profiles. They work at tech companies. We have not vetted any of that, but I assume most of them are, real tech people that you can work with. You will need a little time to coordinate with them, and most of them have said they would volunteer for 1 hour of code. So if you want to reach out to one of these people, I'd really encourage you to do it soon so that you can find somebody who's near you, and you can get it set up with enough time to get going before your class starts.
And even if there isn't somebody near you, a lot of them, because, a lot are based in Seattle because of Microsoft, or in the Bay Area because of all the tech startups. A lot of them will be willing to Skype into the classroom or video chat into the classroom to inspire students as well.
Yeah, and that might be easier to set up too, because you don't have to go through any background checks that your school requires or anything else, because you could just Skype into them. And they can, what I would do if you connect with one of those people is just let them talk for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe answer some questions from the students about what computer science is and what they do with computer science. And then you let your kids code. And we already showed that part. Just put them in front of the computers, let them go to the right tutorial. And that should, you can do it anywhere from 30 minutes, if that's what you've got, to an hour. And they're designed to be flexible in terms of how long it takes. And while they're doing that, you can have them help each other out. You can do it in front of the room. You can do it in their own classes. And basically, your job is just to be the guide on the side. So help them if they have questions. This is a picture. This is a way to do pair programming. I actually prefer it when you just have one computer and 2 students actually sharing the same computer. I find that just forces them to talk more. If they're on their own computers, they may sort of diverge in terms of what they're working on.
And we have a great video linked from the how-to page on what pair programming actually looks like that we made.
Yeah. There's also a number of unplugged lessons. So if you don't have computers for your classroom, or if your kids are just, younger, it can be more fun to get them up, walking around, running around, than putting them in front of computers. I've done the unplugged lessons with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. I
personally like them.
I like
really
them better for the really young kids. Yeah. For the older kids, I've done them with third graders, and they're fun even with third graders. But if you do have a young class, and your class is not the type who would sit and read a book for a long time, they want to get up and run. This is a really fun way to do a computer science activity. It's interactive, and they can work with each other. There's a whole series of these on the list of tutorials, and you can find one that's great for your class. And
take pictures. Capture
pictures.
Everybody's excitement in the moment. And also you can invite politicians, local tech industry people, all to come and try the Hour of Code with you.
Yeah, that's really, the politicians, a lot of them love the opportunity to do this. This is a great opportunity for them. And it's also really cool for your school to get to see the governor or the mayor or some local politician coming and joining them for this.
Or you can even have them teach the principal how to code.
Yeah, nice.
So after they do their Hour of Code, you want to celebrate their big accomplishment and achievement. So like Alice said, you can go to code.org/certificates and pre-populate all your students' names. That way you can give them certificates at the end. And we see these pictures all come in through our social media throughout the week, and we love, love, love seeing them. Our developers who have worked so hard on the tutorials love to see how excited and happy students are doing that. These are just more pictures of students that have been shared with us. And if you hashtag it Hour of Code and do @code.org, we're guaranteed to see it. We've also seen teachers build a wall of honor with all the certificates. So most importantly, as you're doing the Hour of Code, show us your Hour of Code, share us what you're doing, your stories. Maybe you have something new that we haven't talked about today. We want to know about it so we can tell teachers next year. So just hashtag it Hour of Code @code.org.
It also really helps encourage other teachers at your school when they see you do it. It's a great, some people who might not thought they could try it might try it because you did it and it worked with your class.
Yes. So that's it, 6 easy steps.
Yeah, we're right on time. We said we'd finish in, what time is it? 25 minutes. So lots of time for your questions.
You guys did great. You blasted through it. And as a matter of fact, I think one of the most common questions I got was, is this session being recorded? Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you registered for the event, you will get a link to this recording. So don't panic if you didn't catch everything that Alice and Laura covered in that lightning round. So much great information, ladies. Thank you so much. The other thing that we're going to do after the event is over, when we email you that link to the recording, we're also going to email you a link to these slides and to these best practices. So don't feel like you need to take notes on everything. Apologize, should have said that in advance. So we did have a request for a demo, and then there's a couple other questions. So I'll tell you what we would like demoed, and then you guys can answer a few other quick ones in the meantime. Some folks were asking if they want to track student progress for Hour of Code, what do they need to do? Kate and I were talking about how it needs to be a code.org tutorial, and you would need to create a Code Studio account. Is that something that we could show on the screen maybe for folks who are struggling?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. I'm going to start sharing that. Why don't you ask another question and Laura will answer it while I get that set up.
Sure. So one of the first questions that we got was, how can a teacher best decide which tutorial to use in their classroom? Are some more appropriate for ages than others? What if some students have more experience coding than others? What do we recommend for teachers as they're trying to figure out which tutorial is for them?
So definitely it comes down to age and experience. If your students aren't readers, you definitely want to do something like Foos or Hopscotch or Codable.
Or the offline, or the unplugged.
Or the unplugged
we should have
ones.
mentioned that earlier. Yeah, the
those
unplugged
are great.
Yeah.
And then there's also, if your students are more in high school and want to feel more adult, like they're really writing code, our Star Wars tutorial is great because they can do the JavaScript version of it. And we have a whole series of JavaScript tutorials from CodeHS, Code Academy, Khan Academy. Those are all better for older students or more advanced students. The beginner tutorials are pretty much great for anybody to start. I mean, my mom did the Angry Birds tutorial and loved it.
Yeah.
She's like 60.
Yeah, and for older students, I think Khan Academy has got a great tutorial if you're in high school and you're, want to do like something a little more advanced. Why don't we'll come back to that again. Let's go. I've got this up on the screen sharing, so I don't want people to just stare at my screen without having somebody talking. So let me talk a little bit about the question about student accounts and progress. So the first thing to mention is that so here, I'm going to show this up here. So we've designed it so that you don't need to create any, you don't need to create an account. The students don't need to create an account. You can monitor their progress and sort of see what they're up to without any accounts, just by walking around the room. And so if you look up here, I'm going to go, so you can see just at a glance at the very top of the screen, you can see I'm on puzzle 1. And we actually put that on the top of the screen deliberately so that when you're just walking around, you're sort of looking over the kids' heads, you can easily see where every student is in the class. So I'm just going to finish this one level. I'm going to go move right again and hit run.
Go BB-8.
Okay, I did it.
Woo.
I moved on to puzzle 2. And what you see here is I've got a green dot right here showing that I finished level 1. And you see the big number 2, so I can tell that I'm on puzzle 2. This is really helpful as you walk around the room because I can see at a glance, this kid's on puzzle 2, this student's on puzzle 7. I can sort of see who's falling behind, who's ahead. I don't have to log in. I don't have to go to any dashboards. I don't have to look at anything. Live, real time in the room as you're doing it. If you see a student who's really struggling or falling behind, you might ask another student to help them, or you might help them try to catch up a little bit. Or to see, why they're stuck. The other thing you can see is if a student skips, and this happens. You guys all have students, you know what this looks like. So this kid saw that his friend was on level 7, and level 7 looked like a lot of fun. And so he just decided to skip right straight to level 7. So now when I look over this kid's shoulder, I see that they finished level 1 because it's green. There's a whole pile of white dots that they did not do, and they went right to level 7. And so that also gives me an indication of what's going on, and I can see all that progress. So that's actually what I recommend doing real time in the classroom for just the hour of code. There's no reason to set up an account. There's no reason to set up student accounts. This just makes it really easy to you can just put the kids on the URL and watch it, and it's great. Now, if you do want to go a little further, if you're thinking about more classes, or if you just want to have a record for later to look at to see what the students do, you can create an account. And to do that, what you want to do is in this upper right, if I wasn't logged in, which I just did, so I'm going to sign out again for a minute just so you can see this. So when you come to our site, on any of the pages, you'll see the sign in button in the top right. So go ahead and click that. And if you can either sign in, or if you haven't signed up yet, you can click sign up to create an account. I actually have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and enter it here. I have many, many accounts. This is my teacher account. And this op stuff you won't see because that's just because I work here, so I see that stuff. So over here on teacher homepage, on your teacher homepage, which is where you'll go straight when you log in. It's the first place you're going to see when you log in. On the top left, there's a student accounts and progress box. And if I click there, what I can do is I can set up a section. So let's set up a new section. Let's call it period 1. I already have period 1 on here. What should I call it, Laura?
Coding is fun.
Coding is fun. If you have multiple classes, you could put it in here. You can choose a login type. For most students, for younger students, I definitely like either the Word or picture login types. You can do email, but it's more complicated because they all have to put their emails in, and then you have to, send it, and then there's no it's more complicated. Word will be the fastest, easiest way to get in. So I have a bunch of third graders. I can choose what course I want to assign it. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to put them on the Star Wars thing that we just saw. And you could also use the same UI if you want to go on and teach some of our we have 20-hour courses that are available for K through 5. So this is fun and you like it and you want to keep going. You can use the same UI to teach one of those courses. and I hit save. And now I've got this new class, and I can click on it or click Manage Students and enter some students. I'm going to zip ahead. You guys can, there's also a thing here so you can see it. I'm just going to zip into one of the courses I already have set up so you can see this. If I look at period 1, which is a course I already set up. Oh, wait, that was a test course with nobody in it. Hold on. Let me find one where I actually have students in it. Okay. This is the problem with doing all of my testing here. Period 3 might have students with real progress. No. Sorry. Period 2. Third time's the charm. Oh, yeah, real progress. Okay. So here we can see if you do have it set up, and I were on just one of the Hour of Code tutorials, what I could see later after the class, if I wanted to come back and look at it, is I could take a look at all of my students in the class, and I could see which stages they'd all done. So I could see Owen finished all 15, or sorry, which levels. Ryan finished all 15. Orlando got to level 8. Tila got to level 6, then skipped ahead to 8 and 9, and Akina did up to level 7. So if you want to save this information or you just want to have it later, that is how you would go ahead and do that. But again, real time in the classroom just to do an Hour of Code, completely unnecessary. I don't recommend it. When I do Hour of Code, I don't use any of this. I just have the kids go ahead and do it without logging in. So that is that question.
And thanks for showing it, Alice. I think that really made it clear for folks to actually have the demo, so thank you. So got a lot of other questions coming up. I think that's probably the last demo we'll have if you want to stop sharing your screen. So back to the question of how do you choose a tutorial. We had a lot of questions about how do you know what's age appropriate, and then also devices. How do you know whether something's going to work on an iPad or Chrome versus an Internet Explorer? What do we suggest?
So all of the tutorials have it listed.
It all has it listed, and then Code.org's tutorials, we make them work on iPads, iPhones,
everything,
Windows,
everything. Yeah, we work on all OSs,
all web browsers.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure, use Code.org's tutorial, but all the other tutorials do have what they're compatible with written in the description.
Yeah.
Yep, and I would just add on a lot of those descriptions, there's a little link that says for teachers. And if you click on that, you can often find a lesson plan or some description of what concepts are covered in the tutorial, teaching suggestions, and then also how to modify it for different grade levels and ability levels. I know all of our tutorials at Code.org have that, and a number of our partners do as well. So as an educator, it's really tiny print, but look for that. That's one of the reasons why we suggest spending just a little bit of time before your Hour of Code playing around and being smart about what tutorials you select, as opposed to just having your kids go hog wild. But that could also be fun. So I'm not against that. All right, so another question. I know Alice would love to answer this one. We've gotten about 5 or 6 people ask us, are we ready for the number of people who are going to be hitting our website on December 7th?
We've been working really, really, really hard on that. We've been doing a bunch of scale testing. We
have an engineer from Google who's been helping us.
Yeah, and from Amazon, they've been helping us. So we, as far as we can tell based on all our scale testing, we are ready, and we're definitely excited about it. The other thing we've done this year, if any of you are international, I don't know if any of you are, is to set up, and this is getting technical, but we've set up a content delivery network. We're using a content delivery network so that the tutorials are local to where you are. So if you're in Australia, you no longer have to hit the East Coast of the United States to get your tutorial, which should mean everything just runs a lot faster and a lot smoother, and everybody should have better response times around the world. So yeah, I hope we're ready. As far as we can tell from all the testing, we are. We're ready. Not only are we ready, we're ready for 10 times more than we predict. So that way, if we're underestimating, we're still ready.
So there was a question as to whether these tutorials are available for students outside the classroom or if they have to be done during the school day.
They're available all the time, 24/7, 365 days a week.
Yeah. So even, if they want to do it, we've had a lot of students do that, where they do the Hour of Code and then they want to go try another tutorial later on their own, and they can absolutely do that, or they don't finish in class.
And that's
they can go home and finish it.
For kids who are fast workers and those ones that you can never keep up with the rest of the class, pick out 2 or 3 tutorials so they have something else to go on to do after.
I'm sorry, I'm just answering questions as you are as well in the chat pod. So Alice, you mentioned that there was a free play level in Minecraft. Can you talk to us about what that means and what that is?
Yeah, we actually designed that in the last level of the last 3 of our tutorials, and that's designed so that the kids have more, like the kids who finish early have something to do. So in the Frozen tutorial, they can keep making their own ice art. In the Minecraft level, what we do is we give you, so all of the tutorial levels have been done in this sort of little square, and on the last level, we open it up, so the square is 9 times as big. There's this whole space, and they've learned loops, so they can build things that just keep going on and on and on and on and on. And we also give them new materials, new things that they can use, and they can go do whatever they want and build it and keep exploring and, making more things happen, which allows them to keep playing in that tutorial. On the Star Wars tutorial, we've done the same thing. So on the last level, basically we're teaching you how to make your own Star Wars game. And so as you go along, you learn, oh, I can make something happen when I hit the up key. I can make sounds happen. I can make something happen when I touch a certain guy. Like if I touch a stormtrooper, I can make it lose points, or I can make it gain points. And so we teach you all of these little building blocks along the way. And then the last level is, now you have all the building blocks, go build your own game. And again, we give you new things that you haven't had before. So we give you new sounds that you've never been able to use before. And we give you new blocks you can use, new commands you can use. I saw one group of students play with it for over an hour just on the last level, where all they were doing was for the last hour just playing games, trying each other's games, editing it, doing more features on the games, and that's designed to be that way. Actually, my son, I had to stop him after 2 hours because it was dinner, and just told him he wasn't allowed to keep working on his game in Star Wars. So yes, you can definitely keep playing on the last levels.
And I love the idea that they can share the games with other students to play. So it's not just on their computer. Then you can have them all swapping around, trying out everybody's game.
Yeah, I think if you let them do it, they do it on their own. But if you encourage it, they will totally have fun with that. Yeah.
Great. So I thought it might be fun to try out the interactive feature. I've got 6 folks who would like to actually ask you questions, Laura and Alice. So there are a number of folks whose names I have. If you no longer have a question, please do lower your hand. But I'll just go right down the line. And Evelyn, I saw that you have a question. I'm going to go ahead and approve you. Him as well. If you guys would like to unmute and ask your question. And ladies, I don't know what the question will be, so this should be a fun experiment to see how it goes.
Hopefully you're ready.
This is gone. Okay. So we'll just give them a second. Hello, I'm also approving you. Great. So while we're waiting, if I've approved you now, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. While we're waiting for that, we got a lot of questions about whether you had to start at the beginning and work your way all the way through for our tutorials, or whether you could kind of bounce around. And related to that, if a student starts and wants to come back the next day or at home, how does that work?
So if there's a few answers, that's like 3 questions, so I'm going to answer them all. So first of all, you can skip, and we do that on purpose. We do that because sometimes if a kid is really stuck, I just encourage them to go to the next level and keep having fun. But I would encourage the kids not to skip unless they need to, right? So start off by just telling your kids to go through it in order. Most kids don't realize they can skip, so they just keep going through it in order. But what you'll see is if you're one of your students, if you see one of your students who's really struggling, just go ahead and help them skip ahead to the next level. That's true of our tutorials. It's not true of all the tutorials. So if you're in one of the other tutorials, it might work differently. Each tutorial has its own sort of progression and way of doing that. The second question was, how do I save it to go back to it later? So because you can start anywhere, the easiest thing to do, again, is not make accounts, don't log in. If your student is on level 7 when they're finishing class, just go home and go right into level 8 and keep going. There's no reason they need to do 1 through 7 again. They can just start on level 8. So they don't need to save their particular progress. They just start where they go. If they get to the last level and they're building their own personalized thing, right? Like they're building this really cool Minecraft thing, or they're building a Star Wars game or anything like that, they can save. When they click finish, a little dialogue will come up with a link in it that they can save. And it also has a way for them to share that on Facebook or Twitter if your class allows that. If they're at home, maybe they'll do that. If they're younger kids, then obviously not. But But yeah, if you just copy and paste that URL or write it down, then they can go get their own particular game back. So they can keep working on their Star Wars game at home or share it with a friend and their friend can keep working on it. So that's a lot of fun too. So I think we're ready for questions.
I think we are. We've got some folks on deck. So I'm sorry I don't know your names. So if you could just tell us your name, where you're from, ask your question. You'll need to unmute your mic. And for anyone else who would like to speak to our presenters tonight, just click on the little hand icon and I'll get you queued up. So let's start with our friend with the green scarf neck piece. Yes, you, my dear. Would you like to start?
Yes, this is Evelyn. How are you?
Hi.
Well, you know what? It's been a hassle to get this on. I had a board meeting at school. I escaped the board meeting. I drove home and I put you on my phone and I drove as fast as I could without getting into any accidents. And I got home and I'm like, yes, I made it. So I'm here.
Excellent.
I am in New York.
Wonderful.
Okay, so, I'm in love with code. I started using this program with my students, and they love it. They love it. On the days we're off from school, because it was a holiday, I noticed that they were using it at home, and now it's being used as a motivator for them to complete some of the work. So it is very popular, and I'm getting everybody on. School administrators, they don't know what this is about, but I'm like, hello. Don't worry, Evelyn got your back. So I call it, come on, let's code.
Wonderful. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, the kids always ask me because I'm also new. I went to EASTI 2015 this year. So that's when I get in love. I got in love with this and I've been working with this. I've been working with students ages 6 through 10, 11 years old. And they're also Spanish speaking, most of them. So it's great. They're trying to use the language and, collaborate with each other. But my question is like, what do I do when I finish? I'm like, I really don't know. And I don't know if this question has been answered, but this is something that I would like to, I think they want to see an end. And, they completed the program and they're like, what's now? I have a couple of them that are doing the studio, the 20 hours, and they're very excited. But is there a way to answer that question?
Yeah, there's lots of answers. Yeah. So if they're doing the hour of code, I recommend one of three things depending on the kids and their age. So either go help another student finish. You know your classroom best, so you're going to be the best one to judge whether that's the right thing in your class, right? Or keep playing on the free play level that we put at the end of the tutorials. I think, the Star Wars one in particular, you can play for a long, 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 long time. So that if you're worried about the kids finishing early, I would recommend using the Star Wars one because there's lots and lots of space to keep making their games and playing their games and sharing their games. Or try another tutorial. And you can either have one lined up for them to try, or you could just say, go, you're free, you finished, go pick something. And then related to your other question on finishing the courses, so if they finish course 1, you can go to course 2 or course 3 or course 4, or if they finish early within a class, one of the things we've done within our K-5 courses, or sorry, CS Fundamentals courses, is every level has a little link at the top to go create your own project or play lab or artist. And so there's just activities the students can do there to help create their own projects or create their own artist things. But related to Hour of Code, I would just tell them play in the free play level or go ahead and do another tutorial. One easy thing to do would be start them in Star Wars, and if they finish that, send them to Minecraft or vice versa. I'd be really surprised if students get through both of those tutorials in an hour. We've done a lot of testing, and I'd be shocked if 6 to 10-year-olds could finish both of those in 1 hour. Yeah, even the fast ones. Yeah.
The thing is, I created an account, so I gave them their their username and the password, so they're using it at home. I'm like, what happened? Is they did it at home, which I love. It's a motivation, and I said I want the test scores to go up then this year.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. That's a good problem to have. The kids are doing their schoolwork at home, so they have nothing to do at school. That's that's a good problem.
Yes.
I would explore some of our third-party tutorials. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great. Thank you, Evelyn. We had bye. Thank you for making the effort to be here. We have about 10 minutes left and a lot of questions on deck. There are also a lot of questions in the chat pod that we're responding to. I just want to make sure folks know that we have recorded this session so that you'll be able to watch it later. And then on December 2nd, we're going to have a follow-on Q&A session. So if I don't get to your question tonight or Alice or Laura don't, don't worry, there are still lots of ways to get support, including another call just like this one in a couple weeks. So I can see a couple folks on video. I also have given microphone rights to other folks. If someone wants to unmute and go ahead and ask a question, that's great. We'd be happy to answer it.
How about Elizabeth? I see you up here. Oh, I think we lost our Diana.
Hi, hello, ladies.
Hi.
This is my first year. I normally teach math and science. My first year that we're starting a STEM program in our school, and I am teaching a technology special. So I've really been able to spend a lot of time on code. My students have been working already for a couple weeks, so we're very, very excited. I've really been pushing it, and it's unbelievable how much problem solving is involved, and they really are just amazing me. So a big thank you to what you guys are doing as a company, as an organization. I just quick questions, and I know they've probably been answered, but I've been messing around with the computer, and I've had a couple times where the sound has gone off. But just to clarify, it is okay for them to already be working on the tutorials. Is that correct?
Oh, right now? Yes, you can. They're in beta right now, which means we're still changing and improving them. So we put them out there, and then what we like to do is get a lot of feedback. We've been testing them in classrooms. I've taken them to second grade class, high school class, third, fourth, fifth grade class, a couple of another high school class. I took them to an intro. Took him to an English class in high school where the kids had never done computer science before. We took him to an AP computer science class. So basically just trying to get lots of feedback from students. And then what we're looking for are what do we need to do to change it. So since we launched them last week and the week before, we have clarified some error messages. We've changed a few progressions. We've swapped levels 3 and 4 in the Star Wars to make it a little easier. We made a couple things a little harder. So we are making them better every day. You are welcome to try them, and we love getting, the feedback early. It just makes it better for the other students, so that's great. Just know that there's going to be some subtle changes between now and the Hour of Code, and on December 7th, they'll be great. Then they'll be the fully tested version that's ready for your class.
Gotcha. I because they're doing it in my class, they have passwords and they're able to log in from home, and I do track their progress. I haven't been able to track. I didn't see a track from Minecraft. Is it just because it's still in beta?
We have to add it to the teacher dashboard. We'll get that added.
We just added that. It comes out later. The next time we do TP, the next time it's in our staging server. So by tomorrow afternoon, you'll see that in the list. Yes.
Awesome. Now, will the ones that the students that have been working on Minecraft already, will that appear on the progress, or it's only okay?
Yeah. They'll have their progress there. Yeah.
Great.
And one last quick question. Sorry. One last quick question. I'm getting feedback from the kids that are saying that they have to be in Google Chrome to be able to access that. Is that correct?
No, they can use any browser. It works on Safari, Chrome,
Internet Explorer,
Firefox. It should work everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. So we have about 3 or 4 more folks who had raised their hand to ask questions. So Flo, Geraldine, Elizabeth, and Nice. I see Nice's video is up. So if any of you would like to unmute, go right ahead and ask a question.
We lost Nice.
Okay, so if anyone else has a question and you'd raise your hand, go ahead and unmute. Feel free. And ladies, just a couple more here in my list.
Sure.
Let's see. We went over the certificate procedure a couple times, but there were a couple folks who were having an issue with it. So maybe we could just review that one more time. And then, Geraldine, I just saw you unmute. Did you want to go ahead and ask your question while Laura pulls that up?
Laura's going to screen share the certificate.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
I just was wondering, I had asked for certificates to be sent, and I saw in the discussion somebody had written that they would be coming soon. I just wanted to make sure that they would be sent to the school.
Yeah, so for posters, the posters, we gave away awesome posters and stickers to the first 15,000 teachers who signed up for the Hour of Code, and those started shipping this week. and they should be arriving in whatever address that you put in, that's where they'll be coming. If you want to contact support@code.org, we can look up your name and make sure we know which address it's coming to, but they were being shipped out this week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
On that note too, Laura, while you're showing this, there are a couple questions in the chat pod of people saying that their event isn't showing up on the map. How do they know it's been registered? Should people email support@code.org if they want to know?
So the map is updated once a day, usually at midnight Pacific time. So if you're not seeing it right away, it's because it's not a live map. And so at midnight, we scoop up everybody who's added an event and we put it on the map. Another thing that might be happening is if you're not typing in the full exact address, it might be mapping you, but to a different state or a different country. So make sure you're typing in state and zip code to get it as exact as possible. The third thing is you'll notice that we have some orange pins on the map, and those are special events that we've highlighted. We do those manually, so here at code.org, we read through the special events, and we can highlight them on the map. And so we don't approve every event that's submitted. We approve a handful of them as we get them, and as we're able to check them as frequently as we can.
Okay. Laura, do you want to show us certificates real quick?
Yeah, so here's code.org/certificates, and it's as easy as typing in your name or your students' names. And then you can do a whole list. You can copy and paste their names in here because that would probably be a lot faster. And then click on Print Certificates. And it's going to bring up a preview of these certificates. So you'll see a whole list of them ready to go. And this is print ready, so you can just print them by clicking that button.
And they're designed to print well in black and white or color. We designed it so it'll look good even if you don't have a color printer.
There's a question as to whether people could print a blank one and write the name on it later.
If you go without typing any name in it and you clicked print certificate, it's a great one. We can add, we'll have to figure that out. We might be able to add a blank one to the resource page for teachers. We'll look into that.
Okay, great. Now, poor Elizabeth has been in and out trying to get her mic on, so I'm going to let her go, and then Nice, you can go next. And then we'll probably close out the question section, okay? Elizabeth?
Yeah. One question that I've had was, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever students are doing the hour of code, their progress saves at the top, and I've had problems with when another student comes in that they want to start at the beginning and that shows the other student's progress. And one of the other people said that if I used incognito mode, that would take care of that. Would that work?
Yeah, that would work, but we've also solved that problem. If you click on, so if you go to the name of the tutorial /reset, it will also reset it all. And we've made it so that the links from /learn automatically go to that /reset. So if you, instead of just going directly to you can do it in incognito mode, or if you go to, instead of going to the URL, the URLs do it this year too. But anyway, if you click go on them, it'll automatically reset for the next student. So I think that's new this year. I don't think we had that last year.
So they just need to go back to the page and hit go again.
And hit go again.
On the Learn page.
And it'll automatically, when you hit go again, it automatically resets everything. So you get a fresh start.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Nice. Would you like to unmute and ask your question? And Kirsten, if we have time, I'll get to you as well. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Nice from Senegal, Dakar. I have just one question. It's about how to organize a successful event without network, a good internet connection.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that the unplugged lessons are fantastic when you don't have a great internet connection. I have done the unplugged lessons with different age kids. They're really fun, and they teach the same concepts of computer science without the computer. So that is a great way to do it. We're also looking at whether there's some, offline tutorial. There isn't right now. So right now I'd recommend doing the unplugged lesson, but check back on the site. And if we can get something up that's offline before December 7th, you could try that as well.
And I don't know if you have access to desktop computers, but we do have a Blockly tutorial that I believe in the unplugged section that you can download to your desktop and do on your desktop. There's also one created by Codable, one of our partners, that you can download to your desktop as well.
That'd be a good choice. If you try the Codable one, download it in advance, and then you can do it during the hour.
If you could chat us your email address, we'll send you the links to both of those.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice. Thanks for the question. Kirsten, do you want to close us out with the last question?
Hi.
Hi.
So this is actually a technical question. I got a confirmation email saying, welcome to the Hour of Code. And then when I go to sign on, it says it doesn't recognize my email address. And so I've now signed up like 4 or 5 times. I'm actually the principal of the school. And I want to sign up my whole school. All my teachers have signed up. So I wanted to be able to get credit as my school has signed up. But I've contacted support, and I haven't gotten any response from them either. And I'm just I'm worried that what if this happens on the day, the week that we're doing it, I'm trying to run this whole school's worth of coding, and I've promoted it to my parents, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I can't even get into my own account. So I didn't know if you had any suggestions about what to do when you have like a technical difficulty. I have plenty of time now to fix it, but I'm worried about something like that happening.
Did you signed up for the Hour of Code, and now you're trying to go to code.org and sign into your account? So signing up for the Hour of Code doesn't create a Code Studio account for you. This is a great question. I'm sure a lot of teachers think this as well. Okay. When you sign up for the Hour of Code, that's a totally separate form. If you want to create a Code Studio account on code.org, you have to create an account on there. So that's definitely something we should put on our FAQs.
Yeah, we should. We'll add that to the FAQ. I think the reason for that is we wanted to make it easy to sign up for Hour of Code without creating an account on Code Studio. So that's why we have 2 different processes there. But yeah, if you go to Code Studio, you can now click that sign in button and then say you want to create a new account, and you can create a Code Studio account. But you also do not need one. As I was saying before, You do not need one to do Hour of Code, and you don't need one to run it for your school. So your school's already signed up, it sounds like, and you can go ahead, and all your students and all your teachers can do the Hour of Code with no accounts.
Yeah.
And that's all designed to make it easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought so, because we had access to the tutorials and everything, but I was trying to do kind of the resources and the lesson plans and things like that, and I was like, why is my email not working? Okay, so I have to sign up separately.
Yeah, that's very common.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, great question. A good one to end us on, because it allows me to segue into Kirsten. Alice demoed how to create an account earlier tonight. So when I send you the recording later, you may want to go back and just watch that section. But we also have a whole bunch of resources on Code Studio and hourofcode.com that answer some of these FAQs and some demo videos and things like that. So thank you for bringing that question forward. Laura, do you want to go back to the slides just real quick?
Yeah.
We're out of time. We're actually over time. This has been a great discussion. It's been so fun to hear you guys and to hear your questions. I'm certain that we missed a lot of questions in the chat, but I think Kate, Alice, Laura, and myself can hang out for a few minutes and try to answer things. But if you did not get your question answered tonight, you have a bunch of options. First of all, we are going to be having another meeting just like this on December 2nd with Alice and our founder of Code.org, Hadi Partovi, and the full hour will be dedicated to Q&A. So you can bring your questions then. You can also tweet your questions to us at TeachCode or at Code.org, and we will answer via Twitter. And then if you have a technical question, or if you think there's something wrong with your account or you found a bug or something like that, definitely email that to support@code.org and we'll answer it that way as well. So just a few quick reminders. If you haven't already registered your Hour of Code event, please do. And as you're celebrating Hour of Code this year, whether you're doing it during the CS Education Week of December 7th through the 14th or any other time, make sure that you share your pictures, your stories, your videos, your successes, your failures, everything with us at #Hour of Code. We really, really love seeing what teachers are doing. And as you could tell from this webinar, we've learned a lot from you. We hope that you'll join us on December 2nd at 5 p.m. for more Q&A with Alice as well as with Hadi. And I think the last slide just has, just some reminders that code.org, we have a teacher community available to you. You can follow us on Twitter at TeachCode. We have a blog at teacherblog.code.org, and we have an online forum, which also includes places where you can discuss Hour of Code, the different courses, and how you can get support from other teachers and from us. So thank you for joining us tonight. We'll hang out just for a few more minutes in the chat pod. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If you registered for the event tonight, I'm going to send you an email shortly with a link to the recording, as well as a link to the slide deck, and any other resources that Alice and Laura and I think should be emailed after the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Alice and Laura.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So we should just